everyone, welcome to Beyond the Yonder, where we explore all things innovation and trends in market research. So my name is Hannah Rover, I'm Innovation Manager here at Blue Yonder, and I have the honour of hosting today with Jonathan Millian. So Jonathan wears many hats at Blue Yonder, but he is our founder and CIO. So Jonathan, if you could just introduce yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. So I'm Jonathan. I founded Blue Yonder a long time ago, over 20 years ago now. And like Hannah says, wear a lot of hats. We've got a really strong senior team here, and I sit on that as the CIO and the CFO. So today will be all about innovation.
Perfect. Thanks, Jonathan. So as we alluded to, we're going to go through today all of the interesting snippets of Jonathan's annual innovation report. So this report draws from industry insights and Jonathan's own perspective from his many years of experience. So what we'll be exploring is key trends, challenges and opportunities that are coming our way. So let's get into it. So Jonathan, I know we're going to look forwards to 2025, but firstly what I'd like to ask you is to sort of set the scene. So what were the biggest things in 2024 that you think brought us to where we are today?
So this report's really taken off. You know, it was a bit of fun. Did it 3 or 4 years ago, and just to kind of keep ourselves ahead of what everybody else was doing, we just started noting down what the industry was talking about and what our competitors were talking about. And it's evolved into quite a useful document. So we kind of just look at what people said would happen last year, their predictions, whether that happened or not, and then we set the same challenge for ourselves. So we'll look at Blue Yonder do the same, and then we see if we're on the ball or ahead of the game or behind it. And it's proved quite valuable to us, to our clients, to just to if anybody in the industry is out there reading it. But to answer your question, last year and the year before was all about AI. So AI is here, it's not going anywhere. It finally found a term that people will use, and it's stuck and it's easy to understand. But I think what happened last year, and what is the core of the report really, is AI's finally been understood broadly in terms of it's much better than us at some things, but it's far worse at others. And I use a couple of analogies which we might go into later in the podcast. But that for me is what's speeding everything up, and where the industry benefited the most last year. You know, we finally realised that AI can help you do more work. So it can't do better work than you, but there's certain elements of your job that it can do far quicker and as good as you would do it. And that makes it a lot easier to understand, and that makes it easier for people to trust the technology and the platforms and software and everything that's out there. And it got a bit mad at one point where there were probably 10 solutions for one problem across the board, and the amount of time you had to research them and trial them and test them kind of got away from the benefit of, is this quicker if I'm having to research something for 2 weeks before I actually use it? Whereas now it's kind of thinned out. All the startups the startups that are good and have got something have survived and are coming through, and we're all kind of using the same tools that do the job properly. I think that's thankfully what happened last year. We can have faith in AI and not be scared of it. It's not putting people out of jobs. In fact, it's promoting people because they can do more work and they become more valuable by combining their skills and their talent with good, strong, tested AI.
Great. Yeah, so it's quite clear that last year and perhaps some of the year before was about the rise of AI and then the sort of stabilisation of it, so to say. What about this year then for AI? What about going into 2025? What are your predictions there?
So I believe AI can do things faster and cheaper. I don't believe it can do crucial, critical things like insight better than we can. I think that's always going to need humans. So as confidence grows in the bits that we're trusting the robots with, as I call them, AI, robots, same thing, bits that we're trusting them with, I think that's going to it's going to work both ways. It's going to make agencies legitimately more agile and more efficient and leaner, and be able to do things quicker and do more of it at a better cost, which is always the brief for innovation, more work, less resource sort of thing. And then it's also going to speed up our clients because they'll be we can already see that methodologies are getting streamlined, decisions are being made with less certainty because they can. There's a stronger foundation, a stronger footing underneath the current piece of research. Product testing isn't so much of a conveyor belt anymore. It doesn't just fall off the edge. Once it's finished, it gets put over there because we might need that later, and then we can combine that with that. And there's lots of collaborative data to look at. So now we've got the tools, the AI tools that we trust, and we can do that, and we're not testing everything all the time. I think we're going to be able to speed up and get a lot more work done and be truly agile.
Yeah. So this year is about AI being there to stay and really embracing it and speeding us up.
Yeah, because I touched on this in the report. Everyone's worked out that AI. If you did everything using ChatGPT, you won't get anywhere because it's so vanilla and bland and see-through now that we all know, and it's just not healthy to rely on that as if that's your level. You need to be trying harder. You need to be doing better, but it can get you to somewhere quick. It can be like quite a nice tool to create a framework and a baseline of where you're going to start your bit from. And that's we've got faith in that now. I personally don't use ChatGPT for anything anymore. I remember when I presented it to a company a couple of years ago, everyone was amazed. Like jaws dropped literally as we asked this computer to write a discussion guide or something. I can't remember what I did, and it was like, we thought, thought this can do my job better than me. But when you actually looked at it and you went into it and you thought, is this going to meet my objectives of my project? No, there's a lot more to do. But it's a really good way for a young exec to see what the framework of a discussion guide is or a questionnaire is, and then find your way to the objectives and make sure you get your objectives met. So yeah, I think we know what the limit is of that particular part of AI in our industry. So we'll just be able to do things faster, better, and cheaper by using it.
Yeah, and you talk in the report as well, and it's a term that's also becoming increasingly used about synthetic data.
Yeah.
And how that's going to shape the sort of landscape of our industry. If you could just tell us, a little bit more about that.
Without looking too much into the, we have to learn from our history, right? And years ago, it was called weighting, which is, if your sample wasn't quite right, you could manipulate the data to have a look at what it might look like if we think it's got the people in it that we did. And it was quite, used in the right circumstances with caution, it was a useful tool. And, synthetic data is exactly the same. It's like trying to recreate a data set from historic data based on this, that, and the other. And some people are out there using it, and some people are quite happy with it. I think the comparisons that are coming out that are supporting synthetic data are, the bar's too low to call it a comparison. That they're comparing it against, really fast, dirty, cheap information. You shouldn't really be setting that as the competitive area. We should be looking at, can it handle a really good, well-recruited data set? Can it compare itself to that? Who knows? We don't think it can in certain elements. But that's not to say that you wouldn't use it for guidance. And if you've got a lot of data, we can work on that now. Now we've got James here. We can his skill set can get more out of data than your average person because that's what he does and he understands it. So I think that's the use for synthetic data. So, for instance, if you've got a test that you need to do that would traditionally cost you hundreds of thousands of pounds, I think you can look at your data set now, run it through some clever algorithms, and determine whether that's a good investment or not. And I think that's a really good use for it. I think if you, particularly in product testing, if you're trying to get a robot to tell you what people might think, that feels really risky to me. And that's ultimately what you're asking. And there's so many variables, and product testing is quite often so yeah, of course there's parity for like formulation changes and things, but there's also it's often about new ideas and new flavors and new products. So you need to go get the fresh data for that and create a compelling story as to whether it's a good idea or not. So I don't think it's any good for that. But it is out there, and people are going to try it and they're going to use it, and we're going to continue to be asked, can we use synthetic data for this? So yeah, we just need to understand it as well as we can and put ourselves in a position where we can guide. And if we don't know, you have to say we don't know.
Yeah.
Because it's unknown.
Yeah.
So, but we can look into it for you.
Yeah. So still some experimentation to come, and it's all about that balance, isn't it, with humans as well?
It is, and then there's also the negative side of it is it's just so open to abuse, and I don't even want to think too much about that. But ultimately, a robot will do exactly as it's told, and that's another area that we need to be really protective of, and try and find ways to uncover, good synthetic data versus, what could be fraudulent synthetic data.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you say a robot does exactly as it's told, and us humans don't tend to. And obviously, sometimes in innovation, when we bring it back to what we're doing on the daily, it's sometimes tough with how that blends in with AI. If robots are so, follow the rules and do what they say.
Yes, it's a responsibility, because if we ask it to do something badly, it's just going to continue doing it until there's a disaster to deal with.
So we've talked there a lot about, the sort of big corporations, what they're doing. We've talked about AI and data and synthetic. I'm really interested in the human point of view. So we've said, it's important to balance the two. I think everyone knows that now. We've settled that last year. And now, what about the humans? Like, what's the trends that we're going to see outside of things like AI and synthetic data?
It's a really good question. So we're not getting replaced. There's nothing to worry about. But I think there will be, as we touched on at the start of this discussion, we're going to have to do more work for the same amount of budget, because the whole world's under pressure to produce more and take advantage of this new technology that can assist us to do that. And Qual's an interesting area for us because, particularly over the last 10 years, so it's kind of since Foxpot Me started, really. They were a really good company, and then Living Lens joined them, and we started to see these models where you could, it's always hard being a Qual moderator to have to do the group. You try and make notes when something good was said, and you try use this timeline to do it. But actually, the only way to get a really good edit and really learn something, tell a great story, was to watch all the footage back. Well, if you'd done 5 groups, 6 groups, and you'd already got no time to do a report, that was always really hard. So when these platforms came out that you could throw the video into and just type a keyword, and then it just spit back the probably 20 minutes or so you need to watch, that was game changing. And that was good in terms of our Qual being able to tell stories quicker. I still don't think it was as good as having the time to watch everything back and do a full deep dive into it and start again and really learn something and try to tell the full story. But in the constraints of the modern world and modern budgets and no time anymore, it was a really good bit of middle ground. And then most work is global, so you then had to start transcribing it. That wasn't very good in the first instances of the automation that came out. Same with transcripting. Whereas it's all getting better, so all of a sudden, Qual is a really good value option for so bigger number Qual can probably be as valuable as small number Quant, because you get this storytelling that goes along with it. So and the numbers are looking good. It was the accuracy was awful in the beginning, and we all saw it, and it was really hard, and it actually probably took more time to go through and fix the transcribing and the translation than it did to actually just do it yourself in the first place. But that's got a lot better, albeit there's still challenges with certain languages and but it's getting there. It'll get better. So I think the Qual Quant hybrid model is now becoming quite normal. So you can merge them together and use Qual techniques in a mini Quant study. And I think that's going to be high on clients' agendas. So because it's more interesting for them to tell a story internally that's got a load of consumers talking about stuff, and especially if it validates their expectations and their hopes for whatever it is they're trying to achieve, than a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint slide. So yeah, I think that's going to be quite normal for clients to just say, I want 50 people on a Qual study, rather than saying I need 200 people on a Quant study, and having the same confidence that they'll get the right results that they need.
Yeah, and that poses an interesting question as well. Could you even add your synthetic data onto that to get your probability scores that you need at a high level?
There's a conversation.
Yeah.
That's your next podcast.
Yeah,
Sorted.
there we go. Okay, so yeah, you mentioned about base sizes there and being a bit more agile with Qual, Quant. What about other agile methods that are going to sort of take the forefront this year?
Yeah, so we have to be agile and lean. That's how things are. But I think, and it can be done because we're adapting our methodologies to have a fast overnight almost approach. But it just has to be done really carefully because one of the problems with good innovation. So if you were to find that perfect model, right, that does everything quicker, faster, cheaper, better, and then try and force fit it into a space where it doesn't fit. For instance, a good example of that is we all know the fast automated survey platforms that came out of nowhere 5 or 6 years ago. And I think that was really good technology, to be able to just do a really quick overnight. And I spoke to my clients saying, why would you use that? And they say, well, if I've only got £1,000 and I need some assistance with a decision, it's perfect for that. But it's not even answering that question now. And the reason is because they forgot where the value was. So they got the methodology right, they got the platform right, and then they tried to fill it with rubbish recruitment, which meant everything fell apart. And that's the bit that you can't do. And that's the bit that's always a struggle in product testing. If you're not investing properly in your respondents to value them and give you good information back, then there's no point in any of it. So that's the trick with Agile in product testing. And we think we're getting there now. So you can't really take the value and the budget away from the people that are taking part in the studies. But what you can do is optimize everything around it. So that's what we're going to be looking at and hopefully trying to speed things up whilst delivering really fast, good quality information that helps people make decisions. And I suppose the second part of that is, do people already know what they need to know? So data management is going to be critical to this year. So that's what we'll be challenging with our clients. When they come to us with an objective and something they want to do, it'll be like, look, do you already know this? And we have a data method and model internally where we can have a look at everything you've got and see if we can get as close to answering that question as possible. I think that's going to be big for 2025 for us. And clients have only got so much money, so the more you can get out of that pot for them, the more popular you're going to be. And that's always been our belief here at Blue Yonder. That's our job, to make sure they get as much value out of their budgets as possible. And we think that's how you're going to do it this year. Of course, there's still going to be product testing. Of course, there's still going to be the big global tests, but they'll now be done with a different mindset of like, we are certain we haven't got that information, and we are certain we need to know it before we make the next steps. Yeah. I think that's going to be really beneficial and valuable.
Yeah. So lots of efficiencies. Yeah. So only testing when you need to test, basically. Yeah.
Exactly that. Which they try to do. Of course they do. No one's just throwing money at things all the time. Yeah. But I think we're just finding more time to do that. Yeah. Background desk research to make sure that the need is there for new information.
Yeah, great. I guess I know we've touched on it a little bit there with some of the methods that we're working on here at Blue Yonder, but personally for you, I think to wrap things up, Jonathan, as a founder of a market research agency, what are you going to do to help Blue Yonder implement and embrace all of these trends and new tools and methods that we're seeing?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously, give people as much information. So I just sit and look at innovation stuff on the internet, on LinkedIn, and all these publications all day long. So share that with the business, as we always do, and then just with your help, continue the innovation culture that we've got here. Celebrate innovation, good or bad, and just generally protect the environment we've created, which is you can try anything here. If you mean well and it's not going to cost the earth, and there's a potential benefit, give it a go. But then you've got to tell us everything. You've got to tell us how it went, good or bad, and we'll learn from it. We'll fail fast, and we'll get to the best solution for our clients and for us. Our business runs lean because we're always looking to make ourselves, fitter and stronger as well. So yeah, that's what I'll be doing, and again with your and Luke's help, we'll make it a very good year again, I'm sure.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. That's been really useful. To everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed it. Please do read the innovation report when that comes out. I'm sure you'll find it just as interesting. But yeah, please stay tuned as well for more Beyond the Yonder episodes. We've had a lovely time today, so thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Hannah.
And to all the listeners, take care, and we'll see you later.